Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Squared Up Coffee Break webinar. This month, we're going to be talking about what's new in SCOM 2019. My name is Matthew Long, and I'm joined today by Squared Up founder and product architect and long-term Coffee Break contributor, Richard Benwell.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And I'm also joined in our sort of continuing trend of having guest speakers by Microsoft owns Aditya Goda.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm the program manager in the System Center team, and I basically, look after the operations manager product. Yeah.
Excellent. We're so thrilled to have you here today as well to talk about what's coming up in SCOM. So we've got quite a tight sort of time frame today, so I won't labour this slide too much, but suffice to say we're going to look at some SCOM 29 improvements. Aditya's got some pieces on how Microsoft are continuing to leverage SCOM in a sort of hybrid world of Azure and cloud consumption. And then we're going to talk finally about upgrade paths as well.
Just before we get going, Matthew, just thought it'd be a good moment to say a little bird told me before we came onto this webinar that this is the 50th coffee break. So Congratulations, you've hit the golden anniversary of coffee breaks.
Do I get some gold?
I was expected a themed slide deck. But also very exciting to be talking about SCOM 2019 in this coffee break. We met Aditya and team over the last sort of few weeks, and what they're working on with SCOM 29 is very exciting. I was speaking to a Microsoft employee who works with SCOM in the field, and he was actually saying, he's really excited about what's coming out of the SCOM team at the moment, and feels that there's more progress and enhancements and developments being announced now than there has been since the days of SCOM 2012 R2, I guess. So it's kind of really nice to see a real sort of revived interest and excitement in SCOM, and obviously sort of a more interesting roadmap ahead as well. So really going to be interested in seeing what Aditya has to present to everyone in today's webinar. And probably worth saying as well, Matthew, I'm sure you can remind people we have a live Q&A. So Matthew and I are here to take a look at kind of questions coming in. We'll let Aditya get on and do his presentation, but hopefully there'll be some good opportunities to then raise those questions to Aditya. So if you have any questions live on the webinar about SCOM 2019 and the roadmap and the features, I guess, please do ask them now.
Yep, this is the perfect time to actually do so. Okay, so with that, Aditya's asked me to start off with a quick poll, so I'm going to launch that now, which shows what version of SCOM you currently have deployed in your production environment. So obviously super relevant when you have the development team on, wanting to know what version you're currently on. So if you guys can go ahead and answer that now.
While we're just waiting for everyone to fill in that poll, Aditya, we've already had lots of questions come in, and of course the top one on everyone's mind that you might want to answer now or might want to sort of answer at the end is, of course, release date. So everything we're about to see, when are people going to get their hands on it? And I think it's probably sort of phrased quite well by Rick, who is looking at rolling out SCOM, so a new deployment of SCOM in his business over the next couple of weeks. Should he go to his management and ask to delay that so they can roll out SCOM 2019 when it's available, or should they go ahead with 2016?
Sure. So what we can do is we'll go through what's new in 2019. We'll discuss the upgrade paths, and they'll definitely cover when SCOM 2019 is going to go GA. So
awesome.
I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Sure.
You'll leave us in suspense. You're going to leave us waiting. Great, good stuff.
Okay, I'm going to close the polls because we've had about 78% votes. So I think that's probably what we're going to get for the moment. So looks like the vast majority of folks are sort of split between 2012 R2 and sort of the bleeding edge of 1801 or 1807. Okay, Aditya, I should have made you present us, so I think you'll be able to share your screen now and we can get underway.
Yeah, can you see my slide deck?
Yep.
Good afternoon, guys. As introduced earlier, I'm Aditya. I'm a program manager with the SCOM team. And I have been, part of the SCOM team for a couple of releases now, SCOM 2016, SCOM 1801, SCOM 1807, and SCOM 2019 as well, right? So we'll get started and understand what's coming up in SCOM 2019, right? So when we're planning for SCOM 2019, right, we wanted to give enhancements and ensure that you get new experiences and better insights in 4 different areas. And we have invested accordingly in 4 different areas, one being the hybrid, where we had done integration with Azure Service Map to be able to download your distributed applications directly into the SCOM. We have made a bunch of enhancements into Azure Management Pack as well, which we'll see in a bit. Coming to the monitoring experience, we've done a lot of investments here, maybe HTML5 dashboards, enhancing the Linux log file monitoring capabilities, capability, and we all love the MP updates and recommendations capability, and we have extended that capability for third-party management packs and Linux workloads as well. We'll see that in a bit. And we have done a lot of interesting enhancements in the notifications area as well, and we have enhanced the alert management capability for monitor as well, right? Coming to the third area, we have focused a lot on improving the fundamentals as well. So Silverlight has been one of the major dependent part of the web console in SCOM 2012 R2. 26 SCOM 2016, we migrated to HTML, but we couldn't migrate the dashboards to HTML because of complexities. So what we have done in SCOM 2019 is we kind of created new dashboards from the scratch, and the web console right now is completely Silverlight free. So there's no more Silverlight dependencies in web console in 2019. Support for the new SQL Server 2017, enable service logon, in place upgrade, right? And the fourth area, of course, is expanding the monitoring surface, right? We wanted to make sure that whatever the latest application servers out there in the market, we want to support monitoring them as well. And we would support monitoring Windows Server 2019, and of course VSA support for Visual Studio 2017. So in a nutshell, right, we have focused our investments across these four areas in 2019, and we will dive deep into some of these capabilities, and we'll see a couple of demos as well, right? So let's get started. Right, so HTML5 dashboards, right? As I was mentioning earlier, there's no more Silverlight dependencies to these dashboards. These have been built from the scratch, right? And these dashboards or the web console entirely can be accessed from multiple browsers, may it be Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, right? And we have made these dashboards extensible. What this essentially means is we have launched a SCOM REST APIs. With this REST APIs, you can use this REST APIs to retrieve data from SCOM, and you could render the SCOM data into any HTML visualizations. It need not be the visualizations which SCOM ships out of the box. You can render SCOM data in any HTML visualizations, made be third party like HighCharts, Canvas.js, or it can be your own custom HTML visualizations as well. So we are not limiting the visualizations with the visualizations which are shipped out of the box. You can bring in any HTML visualizations and render the SCOM data in it, right? And we have brought in some kind of a drill down capability which will enable you to dive deep into an issue, get access to relevant information, and then resolve root cause issues faster, right? And in this dashboard, so we have also brought in a lot of inline actions, which will help you resolve or solve or do some kind of a small kind of a configurations or changes right from within the context of your dashboard. So you need not open another window and do a lot of searching and context searching in another window. You can do right within the context of the window. And operator friendly, when we talk about operator friendly, we made we enhanced the My Workspace tab for an operator, where operator can create their own dashboards, right? Of course, with the data which they have access on, and they can leverage all the extensibility, inline actions, everything as well, right? So these are some of the enhancements we've done for HTML5 dashboards and the web console, right? So we'll move forward. Right, notifications and subscription enhancement, right? So this is one of the interesting area, right? When we spoke to a lot of customers, what we realized that most of the customers consume or react to issues in their infrastructure or the data center based on the email which comes out of notification, right? In that sense, the email becomes much more important, right? The email should be able to display or visualize as much information as it can, and also share all the relevant information and provide access to be able to get more information in that. So what we have done is we have made enhanced notifications area in two ways, right? The first enhancement allows administrator to create complex criteria building, right? So until now, if you look at the existing criteria builder, we only have AND operations, right? Any criteria you add, the operator is always an AND, right? You cannot perform OR operations, right? And you cannot exclude any data, any objects or anything, right? It's always entirety. You have to take the data into entirety or create a separate group excluding the objects you do not want, right? So this is kind of a tedious work. So what we have done is we have introduced a new powerful criteria builder. What it allows administrators to do is it allows administrators to do and or groupings, right? It allows administrators to perform exclude operations by excluding some objects, like if you want an alert only from the production servers and not the test servers, administrators can exclude the test servers from the criteria by using the exclude operations itself, right? And customers can also leverage the regular expressions. We have also introduced regular expressions here. Customers can also leverage the regular expressions to build much more complex criteria. And the second part, once the criteria is built, the second part, what we have introduced in notifications areas is customers can, or more precisely, administrators can create an HTML email, right? So we are shipping a default HTML template out of the box, but the administrator is free to change the default template and bring in the information which is more relevant in their organization or for their particular issue, right? So they can change the particular HTML template. They can preview the changes they have done right within the SCOM console and configure it, right? So now once the administrators leverage the criteria builder to perform complex criteria and then create a HTML template, operators can consume the new HTML email. This is an example of how the HTML email looks like. This is a default template. The red banner indicates the critical alert. For a warning alert, it would be an yellow banner, and for an information alert, it would be an yellow banner. Sorry. So what another interesting thing what we have done is, as we discussed earlier with HTML5 dashboards, we have introduced drill down capabilities, which allows operators to get access to much more relevant information. So if you see these links here, these links are nothing but a link to those drill down pages. So when an operator clicks on view alert, they get to see all the relevant information with respect to that alert, like the history, the context, the description, the knowledge, the monitor properties which generated the alert, right? All the relevant information at one place, so that the administrator can the operator can understand what the issue is and drill down further, right? Similarly, with alert source, operator can get access to the relationship diagram, understand within the particular object what are the relationships which are impacted and what else might be wrong, the relevant alerts, the effective configuration. So they get a lot of information on the alert source which has generated this alert, and they can also look at the monitor or the rule which has generated this alert as well, right? So with this drill down access, operators have easy access to relevant information, and which helps them to root cause or troubleshoot the issue faster, right? And once the operator kind of root causes the issue, they can resolve or remediate the alert right within the alert drill down page. So they need not go to some other place to resolve or remediate the alert, right? So this is kind of a workflow, the enhancements which we have done. Administrator leverages a powerful criteria builder, leverages the HTML email to create or modify the HTML template. Operator consumes the HTML email with access to more relevant information, which will allow them to root cause the issue faster, right? Right, so we'll quickly go through a demo, right? So let me show you two things in notification as we discussed. The first one is a powerful criteria builder, right? So let me go to subscriptions. So I've created one subscription which says critical SQL production alerts, right? So this is one of the subscription. This is the scope. So earlier we used to have entire criteria, and even we used to have these things raised by an instance in a specific group and raised by an instance of a specific class, also part of the criteria. But in essence, these are kind of a scope for the criteria, right? So the scope screen is optional. If you want to scope your criteria with some class or group, you can choose so. If not, you can leave it as it is. So in my example, I have scoped the subscription with the SQL classes, right? Now this scope will be applied for this criteria. So I've created a criteria. What this essentially says is, if you can see, these are the groupings. This is the new criteria builder which we are talking about, where customer can create groupings. I can say and insert an OR group, right? And I can say, let's say, a resolution state. Let me do one thing. Let me delete this, right? And let's say OR group. I want alerts only with the resolution state. Either it is a new or awaiting evidence. So what I can do is can create OR group. I can insert another expression and say resolution state, and I can say equals, right? And I can say awaiting evidence, right? So these kind of capability creating OR groups, right? It was not there earlier. And if you can see, I'm excluding one instance, right? So let's say this is my test server, and I don't want to monitor SQL on this test server, right? Or I don't want to get notified from SQL on my test server. So I'm excluding in this way. You can exclude anything. You can exclude groups. You can exclude objects, anything. And another interesting aspect is you can also leverage regular expressions, right? You can, if you want to match any regular expressions for any instance or any string types, you can also leverage regular expressions, right? So what we are seeing here is we are seeing exclusions, we are seeing and or groupings, and what else you can do? You can view the formula. So when you click the formula, the entire criteria is being displayed in kind of a formula, and you can see I want the resolution state only to be zero, the new or awaiting evidence, right? So this way you can create your own complex criteria, right? Multiple AND groupings or OR groupings. You can create another AND group here, right? And so on. So this allows you to create complex queries without you going and creating a groups without a particular instances and so on. So this is the first aspect of the enhancement and notification area. The second aspect, what we talked about, is the rich HTML email, right? So let's jump right into the format. So in the channel, what we have enabled is, if you see, this is there's a new option which we introduced here: enable HTML formatting for the email message. And this is enabled by default, and this is the default template we are shipping out of the box. So and the preview of this looks something like this: red banner. And since we don't have values, and right now we only see the variables here, but in the original email you will see the appropriate values. But if, as an administrator, if you wish to change or tweak the default template, all you have to do is click the copy button to copy the HTML template, go to any HTML editor in the web, in the internet, paste the content you just copied, edit the content in the HTML editor, copy the HTML edited template from the HTML editor, and click the paste button here. And once you click the paste button here, the template or the HTML content is copied here. And once again, you can preview the changes you have done by clicking the preview button, right? So for any other reason, if you wish to not have an HTML email, all you have to do is you have to click this, uncheck this, and you go back to the existing email, which is the non-HTML email, right? So this way administrators can play around and change the content, make sure your operators or your users who are actually working on the alert get all the relevant information right in the email itself, right? So these are some of the enhancements, important enhancements we made in the notifications area, right?
I have to say that this is really cool stuff, Aditya. When I used to manage this stuff, I used to have so many groups because of notifications. So that criteria builder is a godsend.
Yep.
So that's really cool to see you guys adding that.
Yes, that's one of the feedback we heard from multiple customers as well, because there has been no way to exclude any group or instance till now.
Mm-hmm.
And as a workaround, they have been creating multiple groups without the instance or groups, and that has been very tedious for all the administrators. So we would be solving that problem with one of the enhancement here. Yeah.
Cool.
Right. So moving on, right. Enhanced alert management for notifications. So we all know the mechanism, right? Let's say we have an alert generating monitor whose state is healthy, right? The health state changes to unhealthy, right? An alert is generated, right? most of the situations, what happens is operator works on the issue and closes the alert, right? The alert is closed, but unfortunately, for many reasons, operator has worked on the issue, alert is closed, but the problem still remains in the system. When I say problem still remains in the system, the monitor is still unhealthy, right? So what this essentially does is, since the alert which has already been generated is closed, there would be no alert in the system until unless the monitor changes its health back to healthy and then goes back to unhealthy, right? So let's take an example, right? I have a monitor which says disk utilization, which generates an alert when my disk utilization goes more than 80%, right? Let's say my disk utilization goes more than 80%, an alert is generated. Operator has resolved the issue, deleted some unnecessary files on the disk, and closed the alert. But once, let's say at the back end, once operator cleared up, something else occupied and created more space. So my let's say my disk utilization now is 90%, right? Now the alert is closed, my disk utilization 90%, my monitor is still unhealthy, right? Which is correct, because my disk utilization is not less than 80%. That's why my monitor is still unhealthy. But I don't have an alert in the system. Let's say the problem persists for 1 week until something goes down and my production server goes down, because uh, the problem was never in the radar, because there's no alert, and unless until something went down, somebody has to look into it and change something, right? So what this essentially is causing is there's no sync between the alert and the monitor health, right? So this is causing a lot of problems in many organizations. So what we have done is, um, let's take the same flow, right? The monitor health goes back to unhealthy, alert is generated, operator works on the issue and closes the alert. Now in this case, alert is not allowed to be closed until the health of the monitor is healthy, right? At the time of the closing of the alert, if the monitor health is unhealthy, the closure of the alert will not be allowed. This is the case for the monitor. Now, since in the case of the rule there is no health, we would not operator can close the rule if they believe they have fixed the issue. But in case of the monitor, because we have an health associated with it, and since we do not want to run into an issue where there's no alert in the system, but the problem still exists, which can lead to make something go down, right? So this way, now we are ensuring that there's a huge sync between the alert generated by monitor and the health of the monitor, right? So we have introduced a lot of things here to ensure you get access to the relevant data, right? So let's quickly jump into the demo, and I will explain you how things will work here, right? So let me go to my demo dashboard, right? So if you see I have some, let me check a monitor alert, right? So if you see, this is a monitor alert. This is the dashboard, by the way. This is the new HTML5 dashboard. And when I click on this alert, I drill down into the alert, and I get all the relevant information of the alert, description, the context, the knowledge, the history, and the monitor properties, right? So let's say operator has root cause the issue, and he's closing, he wants to close the alert, right? Because he has root cause and fix the issue. Now he's changing he or she is changing the resolution state of the alert. It's closed and save changes. So what the error we get is now SCOM would not allow the alert to be closed, because the current alert is associated with a monitor whose health is still unhealthy, right? So we are not allowing the alert to be closed. Now, as an administrator or an operator, you would want to know what are the alerts which have tried to be closed but could not be closed because the health is unhealthy, right? So we are introducing a new dashboard which is called as alert closure failure. If you go to this dashboard, this dashboard will list you all the alerts, all the active alerts which have been tried to close but could not close. Why do you need this dashboard? Let's say you have fixed an issue, but the monitor frequency is too high to rerun and recalculate the health state, and you want the alert to go away, right? So what you can do, you can just come here, select the alert, and leverage the inline action, which is reset health. Click the reset health option, and once you reset the health, the monitor health is reset. The monitor health changes to healthy, and the alert is also closed. Right. The other way to reset the monitor is click on an alert, go to the tasks, and leverage the reset health task even here. Right. So you can do that as well. So there are two ways where you can leverage this dashboard to get access to the list of active alerts which have been tried to close but could not be closed because because the health of the monitor was unhealthy, and then come and root cause and look into further, right, for the troubleshooting. So this capability ensures that we follow the best practices. As we know, the best practices for handling or closing a monitor related alert is to either reset the health of the monitor, right, but not to close the alert generated by the monitor. So this feature aligns itself with the best practices against the monitor and allows you more insights into what are such kind of alerts and all, right? But if you're using any third party incident management tools, ticketing systems, or any automations, and if you are trying to close an alert from that ticketing system, what SCOM will also even in from the third party systems like ticketing and incident management systems, when an alert is triggered to be closed, SCOM will check for the health. If the health of the monitor is unhealthy, the alert closure of the alert will be denied, and we will send back an exception to your respective ticketing or incident management systems, which will have information about the alert ID, alert name, alert description, and everything, which the ticketing systems or the incident management systems can leverage to further fine tune the experience in their ticketing systems and incident management systems, right?
So, Aditya, am I right in saying that the alert management behavior we saw there is also in place in the inside the SCOM console as well? So, if they right click in the SCOM console, like the desktop client, and try and close an alert, it'll do the same thing.
Yes. So in the desktop console, if you try and close an alert, we throw a pop-up which shows the same information that the corresponding monitor is still unhealthy and we cannot close. That is the new dashboard which we introduced, the alerts failure closure dashboard, is available only in web console. That dashboard is not available in the operations console.
Great. And Squared
Does
Up.
that answer your question?
Yeah, there was a question about that behavior in Squared Up. So Squared Up has not sort of fully prevented, but certainly sort of dissuaded users from closing monitor alerts. So that's already been in Squared Up for some time. I think the enforcement of this is at the SDK level. So any tool you're using on top of SCOM will prevent the closing of monitor alerts. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yep. So that should be consistent across any tooling you're using with SCOM.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah. All right. So coming back, so we have done a lot of enhancements in the Linux and Unix monitoring area. What we have done is one of the major enhancements we have done is we enhanced the alerting of Unix and Linux monitoring in failover scenarios. What this essentially means is earlier versions of SCOM like 2016 or earlier, whenever there was a management server which was monitoring Linux or Unix agents, if that management server fails over, all the active alerts generated from the Linux or Unix servers, which is being monitored by the managed server, are again recreated, are getting duplicated, and again new tickets are being generated. Because when the management server fails over, all the Linux agents or the Unix agents which are being monitored by this management server are being failed over to a new management server. At the time of the failover, the alerts are again recreated, which was again generating new tickets. So there's a lot of duplication happening. So what we have done is we have brought in an intelligent design which ensure that even in a failover scenario, there are no duplicate alerts generated and there are no duplicate ticketing happening in case of Linux and Unix monitoring, right? So this is one of the enhancement. The other enhancement is we all have seen updates and recommendations feature which was introduced in SCOM 2016. The intent of this feature was to help you manage the life cycle of a management pack better. and we were showing you recommendations like if a workload is deployed in your infrastructure and if it's not monitoring, we gave you recommendations to download the management pack to get it monitored, or update the management pack to stay up to date and all those stuff. So but in 2016, the recommendations were available only for uh, the Microsoft management packs, right? Microsoft management packs, and for the workloads which are run on Windows. Now, what we have done is we have enhanced that capability to provide you recommendations even for the third-party management packs, as well as the Linux and Unix workloads, right? If you see uh, some Unix workloads like JBoss, Tomcat, right? You are getting recommendations for Linux workloads, and also if you can see IBM Domino or Skype for Business or CHS Suite, these are the third-party management packs, so you'll get recommendations for the third-party management packs as well. All right, and we have also introduced, I can say, we have also extended the Linux log file monitoring capability. The Linux log file monitoring capability in the earlier versions of SCOM was very limited. Now, what we have done is we have used the new Fluentd based monitoring, which allows you to leverage the Fluentd community plugins. And also we are shipping 5 plugins out of the box. What it essentially gives you, it essentially gives access to a wide range of plugins which can be leveraged, and you can also monitor your logs, any logs, may it be application logs, network protocols, cloud services, or anything. One example I can say, if you want to monitor CPU usage of a container running in a Docker, you will write a plugin, or you can leverage a plugin if it's already there in the community, which will essentially read the Docker stats and output the CPU usage of the container, right? To convert this output into SCOM, just you have to plug the output in SCOM converter plugin. So we have introduced a new converter plugin which will convert the Fluentd plugin output or data to a format which SCOM understands, right? Now, what this converter plugin will do, an event will be generated for the high CPU usage, and an alert will be created for the same in the SCOM. So, using the new extensible NS log file monitoring brings in a lot of possibilities for you to monitor any kind of logs, like mentioned in the slide deck here, right? Right. Another interesting feature what we have done here is enable service logon. So until SCOM 2016 or the earlier versions, we have always been using log on locally as the default logon, right? But we all know the different security lapses we have with respect to the interactive logon, may it be the caching of the credentials or so on. So with SCOM 2019, what we are doing is we have hardened the security and made the logon as a service by default, right? What this essentially means is all the accounts which interacts with the health service or the monitoring host.exe would now require logon as a service permission, right? Right, so you can say that monitoring host.exe runs all the monitors or the task or anything based on an account, right? Now that account needs to have logon as a service permission. So during installation of SCOM 2019 or upgrade to SCOM 2019, all the action accounts like data reader or data writer, the DAS, data access service, the management server action account, all these action accounts will be given logon as a service permission by default when you either install fresh SCOM 2019 or upgrade to SCOM 2019, right? Now what the administrator has to do for any run as accounts which have been provisioned by SCOM, administrator has to ensure that the logon as a service permission is there for that account, right? All you have to do is ensure that that account is added in logon as a service. That's it, right? There's no change other than this, right? And by any chance, if you missed giving any server or any account logon as a service permission, you will be alerted saying that a particular account which has been running in one of the servers doesn't have the logon as a service permission, and based on that information you would be able to give the appropriate permissions, right? And one of the important questions we keep hearing is that since the health service runs locally on either on a management server or on an agent, this change, the change which we did by enabling service logon, will not impact the interoperability between SCOM 2016 and 2019. What I mean by interoperability means, um, you can have a SCOM 2019 management server, right? But you can also monitor SCOM 2016 agent as well, because SCOM 2016 agent works with interactive logon, and it can interact with the SCOM 2016 management server. So there would be no issues with respect to interacting with SCOM 2019 server and SCOM 2019 agent or 2016 agent, and vice versa. So the interoperability is not impacted. I'll just quickly show you one other thing where you can get more information into this. So if you look at these views, the operation manager product views. So if you quickly click on the agents, right? So we added a new column for you here, which says logon type. This column will also give you information as to which agent has logon type enabled or not. So this is one of the way you can see this. Also for the management servers, also you can see this information, right? So this is the new capability which we have brought in. So this will definitely for sure improve the security. And we have been hearing from a lot of customers saying that their organizations have a lot some security policies which do not allow them to use interactive logon for various reasons, like interactive logon caching the credentials, and they would want service logon. So this would align with all those security related policies in the organization as well. And the long pending the APM monitoring issue, which was introduced in 2016, has been fixed and resolved in a 2016 UR, and the same fix will also carry forward in SCOM 2019. So there would be no issues with respect to the APM agent in 2019 or SCOM 2019 in the later URs as well. And schedule maintenance mode with SQL always on will also now work seamlessly without any issues, right?
Cool.
So we'll jump into the hybrid scenarios quickly. Service map integration. What does the service map do? Service map, automatically discovers the dependency or the mappings between a server and its configuration, its processes, what is running and everything. What are the dependencies between different servers and the processes running between them, right? So what service map integration with SCOM essentially does is service map is a solution in log analytics which automatically maps your entire server, the dependencies and the processes which are running in there. What we do is SCOM is integrated with Service Manager. By this integration, we would download the dependency maps from Service Map and show you and overlay the dependency maps in SCOM with the help along with the health of the service in SCOM. Right, so this is how dependency map is there in Service Map right now, and this is how the dependency map is overlaid in a SCOM console along with the health of the objects. Right, so this way you would be able to see the download or view the distributed dependencies and the services running on a particular server or a group. Right, so this is about service map integration. Azure Management Pack, we have done a lot of enhancements here, like for App Insights, customer can monitor performance metrics and configure alerts in SCOM for various metrics and thresholds. Right, for example, server response time, the page load time, and for storage accounts, customer can monitor consumption of storage accounts, see history, and raise alerts for metrics like high storage consumptions. Azure Data Factory is another scenario we enable. So we have done a lot of enhancements here, like App Insights, App Gateway, Storage Account, Azure Data Factory, and so on. So this will now allow you to monitor your more Azure scenarios and more Azure solutions right from within the SCOM itself. Right. So we'll quickly see a quick demo for Azure Service Map, Azure Management Pack. Right. Let me quickly show you the configuration and show you what we can do. So this is the Azure Management Pack configuration. A subscription has been configured, right? Now, once a subscription is configured, the Azure Management Pack runs through all the Azure services which are there in that subscription and tries to discover the number of instances in each of the services, right? So these are the different instances across different services which have been discovered. So I have virtual machines 599. I have applications. I have 7 applications which are being monitored by App Insights. So I have checked. I wanted to monitor my virtual machines and my applications which are being monitored by App Insights. So all I have to do is I have to check the virtual machines and my application insights. Now, once that is done, once my discovery is done and the instances are discovered, I have to define what services I want to monitor. Now, once that is done, I have to define what metrics I want to collect for each service. So let's say, for example, for virtual machines, we can define what kind of performance data you want to collect. So I have defined the CPU, discrete write, and so on. So you can define each kind of what data you want to collect for each type of the service you have selected. And for application insights, I've defined few other performance metrics to be collected. So once this is done, the Azure MP starts collecting the data, the performance data, the alerts data for based on the services you have selected, right? And the interesting part is once you have defined what you want to monitor and how you want to monitor with Azure MP, you can quickly create a Azure dashboard, a dashboard with Azure MP, and create a simple two widgets showing you the health of your virtual machines, showing the health of your applications which are being monitored, and you can quickly click on one of the VMs, get more insights into the VM. We don't have much monitors enabled on that VM, and hence the entire data is blank. But if for some reason, if one of the VM is critical or unhealthy, we would get to see the alerts associated with that VM and the performance metrics associated with them very quickly, right? So the Azure Management Pack does much more now. Within the SCOM console, you'll be able to get alerts and act on those alerts, right? So again, this is my application which is being monitored by Application Insights. I have various monitors which are not being monitored, and yeah. So this was a quick demo of Azure MP. Just wanted to highlight that we have been doing a lot of enhancements in Azure MP, like the enhancements which I just called out: application insights, application gateway, storage, account, data factory, and so on. So any feedback in this area or any of the areas we discussed earlier would be appreciated.
Okay, there we go. So everyone, you should be seeing a poll asking if you use log analytics in production. If you could hit the answers on that one, I'll give it a little while just to the vote percentage gets relatively high. I have to say that the changes that are coming down look really cool, actually, especially the alert closure one. I know that's kept a lot of SCOM admins awake at night. Oh God, have they closed the monitor? Have they reset it properly? So that's it's great to see that change finally coming down the line.
Just while we're doing that, there's a few other questions, not necessarily related to some of the content. There's a question around Visual Studio 2019 support for the Visual Studio authoring extensions, and the response from Prasad from the SCOM team there was that VS 2019 is still in preview, and you do have plans to add support for that by GA for Visual Studio 2019. So that's something that comes up actually regularly, is just making sure every single release of SCOM then sort of supports the Visual Studio release.
Yep, there's nothing worse than installing the latest version of Visual Studio and going, I can't author MPs. Right, okay, fine. And then having to go down. Yep. Likewise, there's another question here I saw as well. So yeah, 2019 is kind of the definitive version as well. So as Aditya was saying, it's got fixes from 2016 in it. It's got the sort of 18.0x content in it as well. So if you've been languishing and holding off for a while on upgrading, this is the version that has everything in it. So good time to upgrade. Okay, I think we've hit the sort of magic number in terms of votes. So I'm going to close and share the poll results. There you go. So looks like the majority of people are not currently using log analytics sort of in their production environment, but we are seeing adoption, which is kind of cool, actually. It's one of those tricky ones to sort of get your head around at first, isn't it? Kind of how you can actually use it in a sort of production sense. Because in a development sense, it's kind of great and it's very easy to throw stuff in there, but then turning it on in production can have...
You get the concept, you're not quite sure how you're going to make use of it.
Yeah, exactly. Or if your support teams are really ready to actually leverage that in some way. Okay, there you go. So everyone should be seeing Aditya, your screen again.
Okay, great. So yeah, now the question comes, what are the different upgrade paths to SCOM 2019? So we do support upgrade to 2019 from Operations Manager 2016. If if your current deployment is Operations Manager 2016, you can directly upgrade to SCOM 2019. If your current deployment is 1801 or 1807, you can directly upgrade to SCOM 2019 with in-place upgrade, right? But if your current deployment is SCOM 2012 R2, then you would have to first upgrade to SCOM 2016, and from SCOM 2016 you would have to upgrade to SCOM 2019. Right. So these are the three different upgrade paths we are supporting in place for SCOM 2019. And now the big question, which came up right before beginning this session, right? When is SCOM 2019 coming up? So the release of SCOM 2019 will be in March, right? So we are very close. It will be coming up in March, and as one of our user pointed out, should I ask my managers to go and wait for SCOM 2019? Yes, it's just a couple of weeks. So yes, it would be, if you can hold on for a couple of weeks, then yeah, SCOM 2019 will be GA, and you can directly upgrade to SCOM 2019.
And really worthwhile with all that functionality. It's worth, especially if you're going to set up notifications, for example, roll out a new management group and start using that notification support in 2019.
Yeah, I think that it really is a sort of a big change that requires you probably to start looking at your subscriptions now and figuring out how you're going to rework them, because it's a very different, it's a sea change from what you would have previously configured and how you would have structured your groups and your subscriptions and everything else. So definitely want to think about and plan.
And just one that's just come in just recently around the other products as part of the System Center suite. So we're talking about SCOM 2019 here, but I assume this will be part of a System Center 2019 release. There will be other parts of that suite. The question was, do other System Center products need to be upgraded at the same time? I assume not, if they're obviously independent, right? If sort of SCOM is independent of those other products, let's say sort of Orchestrator or Service Manager, but there will be updates available at the same time, presumably as SCOM 2019.
Yes, so updates: Orchestrator 2019, VMM 2019, SCOM 2019, Service Manager 2019, DPM 2019, all of them will be live in March.
Cool, that's quite good to hear.
Yeah. So I just want to run one more poll here.
So given that it's going to happen sometime in March, so within 1 to 5 weeks, when are people thinking, based on what they've seen, on deploying SCOM 2019?
And while people are answering that, just a question around the Azure MP. Is that something that requires SCOM 2019, or will that be compatible with previous versions of SCOM? In this case, the question was 2012 R2. What's the compatibility between the latest Azure MP updates and SCOM?
The latest Azure MP update should work with the previous version of SCOM as well. So there's no hard dependency with SCOM 2019. Yeah.
Great.
I can tell you what, based on the result, I can see the results coming through. We've got some keen beans here. People are looking at going pretty soon. Okay, I think we've hit the magic number, so I'm going to close the polls. Thank you for voting, everyone, and share the results. That's good to see.
All right.
Great. Look at that.
Thank you. Thanks.
I think if you wanted a side of engagement, you got it.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly run through a small recap, calling out the different enhancements which is discussed in each of the area. Hybrid, you will be able to leverage the integration with Service Map, the Azure Management Pack enhancements, right? Coming to the monitoring experience, we have HTML5 dashboards, extensible Linux log file monitoring, capability to enable or disable APM component, right? Updates and recommendations for third-party management packs and Linux workloads, enhanced notification experience, enhanced alert management experience for monitors, enhanced certificate validation for web application monitoring, Linux log file rotation, right? Coming to fundamentals, no more Silverlight dependencies, SQL Server 2017, enable service logon, and support for OpenSSL 1.1.0 for Linux platform, Kerberos support, enhanced agentless alerting during failover scenarios, which we discussed, right? And then monitoring surface, you'll be able to monitor Windows Server 2019 and its workloads. List some of the latest application servers like Tomcat 9, Wildfly 14, and so on. VSA support for Visual Studio 2019, monitoring capability for Ubuntu 18 and 9, and we have enabled for APM, right? Client-side monitoring was supported only for Internet Explorer until now, but 2019, you'll be able to have client-side monitoring for Internet Edge and Chrome browsers as well,
Hmm.
right? And we also enabled with APM, we have also enabled support to monitor websites which have been created using SharePoint 2016. Right, so some of the interesting stuff which has been enhanced in APM as well. So that's all I have, right? So any questions, we can go through them.
Cool, excellent. So what I'm going to do is I'll just do our sort of wrap up slide, and then we'll jump into into Q&A. Just because we've got a little long, so I want to make sure people need to drop off. They can sort of see more about the coffee break series. But yes, stay put, guys, and we'll get to Q&A in a second. So thanks for sticking with us, guys. I know we got a bit long. If you thought this coffee break was awesome, let us know what you'd like to cover via our community answers platform. So if you go to community.squaredup.com, you can find a great, awesome Q&A platform, kind of similar to Stack Overflow. You can ask questions and get answers, not just from us, but also from your peers who, frankly, are way smarter than we are, to all sorts of questions related to SCOM specifically, or Squared Up, or enterprise monitoring. And I'm willing to bet that there's someone else who's had the same problem as you, and they'll share their solution there. So go check it out. If you want to sign up for future sessions, there's a microsite on our website, squareup.com/coffee-break-series, where you can go and pop your details in and get registration information, along with sort of what's coming up next. Obviously, we get awesome sessions like this, so it's definitely worth sharing that if you know a colleague or friend who would want to see it. The recording of this session, along with the slides, is published via our blog on squareup.com/blog. So you can go and get that if you need to share that with a colleague. And there's also a wealth of other great content available on there as well. And then finally, if you love what you've seen here and you want to see what else we've been up to, you can check out the YouTube playlist we have for this series. As Richard mentioned, this is the 50th copy break we've done. So there's a huge content online now for tips and tricks with SCOM and Squared Up and enterprise monitoring in general, searching, I think, the last 2 years. So it's definitely worth going and checking that out and seeing what you can find. Okay, so with that, we're going to jump over to Q&A because there's still a couple of questions people are asking. So yeah, as I mentioned at the top of the webinar, it's not just our engineering team, but also Microsoft are online as well. So if you have questions, this is definitely the coffee break to answer them. So listen, thank you very much for joining us, everyone. Thank you, Richard.
Great, thanks, Matthew.
And Aditya and Prasad and Neha, thank you so much for joining us on this coffee break and for sharing so much in terms of the roadmap and also release dates and everything else as well with us. It's been great to have you on.
Thank you, everybody.
And with that, guys, we'll see you next month.